Hello everyone, Scientia here, and it's time for, well, it's past time for, really, another life and channel update. As many of you may have noticed, there was not an update in November. There's a good reason for this. On November 20th, my graphics card fully went kaput. It died. So, not knowing about the integrated graphics card in my CPU, or how to make that one work, which I've learned towards the end of November, I found myself in a position of not really wanting to use my computer for any sort of thing like trying to record or whatever else. Plus, I was having to try to figure out what was going on and then what to do and all this stuff. Let me move OBS up slightly so I'm looking up more towards the camera. And so I just have decided to record a November and December video all in one go. So just to kind of get some initial stuff out of the way, we were able to get me a new computer, which has been a huge upgrade. The timing actually worked out really, really well. I'm feeling very grateful about all the timing and everything. Graphics card going out was one of those like, yep, non-negotiable, need to get a new computer sort of things. And it hampered my use of my computer. I couldn't work in RPG Maker MV, for example. I couldn't run Guild Wars. It actually fully died when I was trying to run Guild Wars. But it wasn't so dead that I couldn't still kind of do stuff on my computer. I could mainly use it as a web browser, so there's at least that. It didn't affect any of my data or anything like that, which was very good. And it happened to be just before a bunch of stuff went on sale for Black Friday. So we were able to get me a new computer with Black Friday sales. It's a little like I'm still working with the same monitor, so there's a little bit of a sense of not newness, even though it is a new computer, and so it's more capable than my brain has caught up to. But so I have a much more recent, much newer graphics card and things like that. So that's very exciting. But I had to spend a bunch of time once it arrived. So we ordered it on Black Friday with sales. And then also, I apologize if there's a little bit of desync between the audio and the video. I feel like I'm noticing in OBS a desync between my speaking and what I'm seeing, but I don't know how that's going to line up. Anyway, so I was able to get a new computer ordered. I'm not somebody who likes to do custom parts. It's just I'm not a hardware person. I know stuff about hardware that most people probably don't, just because I've interacted with computers enough, but I'm not a hardware person. So I was just happy to get a pre-build. And so that arrived a weekish later, maybe a little bit more. I don't remember exactly, but it arrived, and I was very happy about it, but I had a bunch of other stuff going on. So new computer, that's exciting. That should mean that I'll be able to stream Shadow of War a lot better whenever it is I decide to pick that back up. But new computer means I can finally play Elden Ring, so for some reason I've been much more interested in doing that when I have time to play games. So needless to say, that's kind of adjusted some of what I've been doing. So winding way back to projects and stuff, my plan heading into November was to try to do something NaNoWriMo related, try to do some sort of writing thing. That ended up not happening. What actually happened instead was that I was like, you know what? I need to get these creative ideas that are floating around in my head out for game stuff. So I just was like, let's just make a short RPG, an RPG Maker on the side. I'll get back to Psychopomps Are Missing later. Right now, Psychopomps Are Missing. I did just release an article, the quarterly update article on that. Those are going to be going on hiatus because working on the game's going on hiatus. Psychopomps is currently in a spot where I need to do a bunch of world building stuff to figure out things so I have that in place for actually making stuff in the world. I need to know what sort of sentient species are in the world. I don't like the word races here. It just is very confusing and weird to me. But that's an entirely other discussion. I'm going to leave that one alone for now. If you want to have it, come to my Discord and ask me. But anyway, I need to figure out what sentient species and cultures and all these sorts of world-building things. I need to flesh that out so that way I can begin the process of doing, making NPCs and towns and stuff to do things in, figuring out what sort of enemies I want where and that sort of stuff. So there's a whole process. And so I had a bunch of other like design ideas that I kind of wanted to explore. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put this on hiatus. I'm realizing. So I have this thing where I really like a well and carefully crafted world building. World building is my jam. My favorite parts of Lord of the Rings are the way that Tolkien weaves world building things. Like the world is a character, and the way he kind of explores that and weaves that into the overarching narrative, where you get things like slight Lord of the Rings spoilers for the next short period, where when Merry's helping fight the Witch King, when he stabs the Witch King with a sword, it talks about the swordsmith having made the sword to fight the Witch King of Angmar, and how happy he would have been to know that his blade helped take down the Witch King. Like that sort of thing, I love that sort of stuff. And it's just, I like that world building. I love the consistency of world building with From Software's games, the Souls games and stuff. But I struggle with actually doing it. So I have this weird sort of double bind where I want careful, consistent, thoughtful world building, and I want to have that in the things I make, and I am not great at doing it. So that's like a spot, like it's just the sort of thing that just really mires me down and really slows me down. And I'm not quite sure why. I'm still kind of processing that a little bit. So let's just process a little bit right here for y'all. I think a good driver of it is it's a level of creativity that is hard to figure out how to make marks with. And I think part of what I have going on a little bit too is I want to get too much into the minutia, too much into the details. There's a lot to kind of get into, and then RPG Maker's framework kind of sets some stuff in places that maybe is difficult for me to figure out how to work with. I might be trying to do too much, or I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's something that's always bogged me down. So for this side project that I'm doing, because it felt better to get creative ideas out of my head than to have them floating around in my brain, I figured out a world building structure that lets me not have to worry about the world building. And so I can free myself from that. Because here's the problem. Here's the real problem. I am what's called a pantser creatively. It's a fly by the seat of your pants is where the expression comes from. But it's kind of where I want to figure out stuff as I go. I like plotted stuff, or stuff that feels plotted. So this is a writer's thing, particularly with fiction, where there's pantsers and plotters. I'm terrible at wanting to do research, for example, because I don't want to have to take the time to do the research. It's just how my brain works. So this has constantly been something that's been kind of at odds, and that I've kind of struggled with on a number of these game projects. And so figuring out a framework that means that I don't get caught up in the plotter thing, because that's where I stall out, right? I stall out when I'm plottering. When I'm trying to write stuff up ahead of time, I have to go by the seat of my pants. It's just, that's the way my brain works. So by letting go of like creating a framework that allows me to not feel like I'm beholden to trying to come up with this careful, intricate world building before I make stuff, I should be able to make this game. And I'm calling it Astria Princess of Light. That's just the name that I'm going with. That should be significantly quicker to do. I can kind of follow my whims, introduce what characters I want, where I want them, and it should be fine. So I'm aiming to have that done relatively quickly. We'll see how things go. But I want that. My aim is to try to have it done around May of 2023. That's my goal. So I worked on that a bunch in November until I couldn't work on it anymore because everything happened with my computer issues on November 20th, and then I couldn't run RPG Maker. So what I did kind of during that time when I couldn't do a whole lot of stuff on that is mostly I feel like, I started watching Hunter x Hunter at a recommendation of a mutual on Twitter, and I really enjoyed Hunter x Hunter. I did a big initial binge session, watched some, we got it. I'm going to spare you the whole process. Long story short, I watched it in a chunk, and then I've recently-ish finished watching it in a big binge where I was writing during... It turns out writing during the commercial breaks on Crunchyroll is like a good concentrated dosage for my brain, and kind of like is good pacing cycling for like writing kind of like articles or whatever. So I wrote a thing that I'm hoping to be able to get up today, maybe tomorrow, at the time of this recording. So I'm wanting to get this out today as well. That I wrote while binging the second half of Hunter x Hunter. But I really enjoyed that one a lot. That's one where there's a lot of like digesting of themes and ideas and stuff that is going on with it. I'm not going to get into any particular details. It wasn't quite what I was expecting going in, but as I kind of reflect on it, I like a lot of the point. But I think it's kind of nice to sort of, I don't know. Again, it's something that I want to talk about the show, but not right now because I want to avoid spoilers. And of course, I've been playing a lot of Elden Ring because I can finally do that. And there's a whole process once I finally got my computer in of going through and installing stuff. Then I had to install, like, I was able to install one of my old hard drives. I had an SSD and an HDD that I wanted to plug into this new computer. I have another old HDD that's like an ancient one that I was just using to record to. There's not space inside to install it into, but I had to wait for a cable to be able to split the power, the SATA power, because it only had one plug and the other. So there's a whole process of like having to wait for that. And so it's kind of like is a several day thing of going through of like getting everything set up and downloading things and figuring out how to do random Windows stuff, and how to use the subs command to make a substitute drive for convenience purposes. Turns out that you have to do on a user command prompt and not an admin one, so that was unexpected. So yeah, there's been a whole lot of process getting things put back together. So still kind of, it feels like I've done a big move and I'm still finding boxes that I need to unpack. So I just recently was like getting OBS properly up and running. So and with the holidays and everything. So I feel like I've not necessarily done as much this month. In part because a lot of it has just been moving into this new computer functionally. So I could look over my Dear Patrons things and figure out what sort of things I've done during that time. I did work, I think, on Astria a bit more again, but there's been a lot of other stuff that I've been kind of trying to get to. So if you want to kind of know what's going on in my life more regularly, that's not as subject to random computer whims, not as subject, to be clear, not subject. You can always support me on Patreon at the $5 tier. But, oh man. You can also follow me on Twitter, I guess. Links are in the description for however long I'm still on Twitter. I don't plan to go anywhere, but also the service, after a certain Elon Musk got in charge of it, has felt unpredictable. And that makes me uncertain about what the future is there. So, yeah, there's that. And Discord is another good way. For some reason, if you're wanting to contact me, I certainly appreciate it. I've been thinking a lot about community and what sort of community I want and all that sort of thing. And anyway, I think Astria is the big thing, and then the computer going down. Those are the big things. Then moving into a new computer functionally and all of that process. I'm on Windows 11 now, by the way. That's been an adjustment period. I don't know why all the windows are rounded corners, but for some reason they decided that should be the case. It's overall been fine. There's somehow they made Notepad worse, Hopefully they're kind of fixing that. Calculator has a graphing function now, so that's really sweet. And there are multiple desktops is better. So yay. I think that's going to be all for me though. It's been an eventful couple of months, but I want to wish everyone a happy holidays and thank you for sticking around. I do want to get back to streaming a playthrough of Shadow of War. I have to decide if I want to just start over again because I know that the first one was not great. It really didn't go well. So I'm considering whether or not I want to start afresh with that or not. And so that's part of it. But that's not going to be something that's going to happen until next year at the earliest. So it's not going to happen this month. So anyway, we'll wrap up here. Again, happy holidays. Take care, everyone, and goodbye.